Hello everyone, it's Scott and welcome to today's video. We're going to look at the top 10 uncommon cards from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. And remember to like and subscribe to get further content like this throughout Outlaws of Thunder Junction season and in future sets. So let's look at the top 10. At number 10, I've got Hellspur Brute. For 4 and a red mana, you get a Minotaur Mercenary that's a 5/4, and it has affinity for Outlaws. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each Assassin, Mercenary, Pirate, Rogue, and or Warlock you control, and it has Trample. So based on the number of Outlaws we got in this set, certainly there will be an Outlaw deck in Standard. Now, is it going to be Tier 1? I don't know. But one thing is for sure, this is going to be a part of that deck, because being able to cast this for 1 mana or 2 mana is going to be a really nice situation for people who want to play an Outlaw style deck, because we've seen this with Talarian Terror and a few other cards that have, reduction costs based on you doing something, and they're seeing play. So Hellspur Brute will see play as well. At number 9, I've got Shoot the Sheriff. For 1 and a black mana, you get an instant and destroy target non-outlaw creature. Assassins, Mercenaries, Pirates, Rogues, and Warlocks are Outlaws. Everyone else is fair game. And if we look at Standard right now, everyone else is fair game really is the condition for Standard. We have a few creatures that are Outlaws that are played in Standard, but the bulk of the cards are other types. So because of that, I think Shoot the Sheriff is going to see play in Standard, at least as a sideboard option. At number 8, I've got Rancorous Entertainer. For 1 and a green mana, you get a Plant Bard. That's a 2/2. And you can pay 1 and tap Rancorous Entertainer and put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control that entered the battlefield this turn. And this is why this card's here, because in any deck where you're going to be trying to play a lot of small creatures that you can grow, I think this card fits in really well. And we've got a few other cards from the set that do similar things. So I think those cards in some combination, I think will become the shell of a +1/+1 counter deck, and we've already got one of those in Standard because we've got a lot of +1/+1 counter matter cards. So I think there's a deck there. The question is how strong the deck will be in the end, and that I don't know yet. Number 7 is Requisition Raid. For a white and a plus, you get a sorcery with Spree, and for 1 additional mana you can destroy an artifact. For 1 additional mana, you can destroy a target enchantment. And for 1 additional mana, you can put a +1/+1 counter on each creature target player controls. So for 4 mana, you can destroy 2 things and give all of your creatures a +1/+1 counter. This is a very good card. I may be undervaluing it here. It's certainly a sideboard card, but I can see this finding main deck play in any white strategy. Certainly, I think the Boros Convoke deck may want this as a couple copies in the main deck to really go ahead and boost your team to get that last bit of damage through that you want to win the game. So Requisition Raid, very good Magic card. I think we'll see a lot of it in Standard. At number 6, I've got Frontier Seeker. For 1 and a white mana, you get a Human Scout. That's a 2/1. And whenever Frontier Seeker enters the battlefield, you get to look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a mount creature card or a plains card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So for 2 mana, you get a 2/1. And the benefit of looking at the top 5 cards to get a mount or a plane from your deck. And I can see this being played in a white control deck as a nice creature to have on the battlefield that can do some damage early in the game. And it also helps ramp you, assuming you're able to get a plane from those 5 cards, which for the most part I don't think will be a problem in Standard, because those decks tend to play 24, 25, 26 lands at some point. So I don't think the plane will be a barrier to getting that additional card off of this. And obviously if we do end up with a mount deck, this is a good card in that, because you're basically getting to draw an extra mount. At number 5, I've got Scorching Shot for 2 red mana. Scorching Shot deals 5 damage to target creature. It kills Sheoldred for 2 mana. That's really important in Standard. It is a sorcery, so it's a little bit slower than I would like it to be, but it's a very good Magic card, and we're going to see any red deck in Standard playing this because it's going to help. Next, we've got Ruthless Lawbringer for 1, a white and a black mana. You get a Vampire Assassin, and when Ruthless Lawbringer enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, destroy a target non-land permanent. So any Orzhov or Esper deck, I can immediately see this going into, because a lot of those decks have 1 and 2 cost creatures that you can sacrifice to go ahead on turn 3 and destroy the best thing that your opponent has. And because it's any non-land permanent, so even if you get this in the late game, I think it's really a powerful card because it's in essence a 2-for-1. You get to kill one of their things and you get a body on the battlefield. And for that reason, I think this is one of our better uncommons in the set. At number 3, I've got Lazav, Familiar Stranger for 1, a blue and a black mana. You legendary creature, that's a shapeshifter, that's a 1/4. And whenever you commit a crime, put a +1/+1 counter on Lazav, Familiar Stranger. Then you may exile a card from a graveyard. If a creature card was exiled this way, you may have Lazav become a copy of that card until end of turn. This ability triggers only once each turn. So Lazav, in my mind, is potentially a very powerful creature in Standard because we know black decks are going to commit crimes. We know blue decks are going to commit crimes because they're going to counter things. So the combination of it being a blue and a black card, I think really pushes this to the next level of playability, where I think we're going to see a lot of this in Standard because it will not be hard to get 2, 3, 4 counters pretty quickly onto Lazav. And then he's this very large creature that can morph into any other creature that it removes from a graveyard. So maybe they have a Sheoldred in their graveyard or a Rafine in their graveyard. And now I can go ahead and pull that out and by exiling it and then make Lazav a copy of that for the turn. So I think Lazav definitely is going to be a card that's going to see play in our Dimir deck, and I think the Esper deck as well is going to at least try this card out. Next, we've got Honest Rusting. For 1, a black and a green mana, you get a Human Warlock. That's a 3/2. And when Honest Rusting enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So Rutstein, I think, is a very powerful Magic card. Right now, we already have Jukai Naturalist that does a similar thing, but with enchantments, and it has seen a lot of play over the last 3 years. So I've got to believe that Honest Rutstein is going to see a lot of play because every single creature you play is now going to get reduced in cost. So that means your 2s are now 1 mana, your 3 mana creatures are now 2 mana, and now all of a sudden you can start really, in essence, ramping out those cards and getting them into play faster. And we've already seen a number of really solid Golgari cards from the set. I think this is just another one of those really good cards that's going to see a good amount of play in Standard. Next, we've got our number 1 card, and that's Doc Orlok, Grizzled Genius for a green and a blue mana. You get a legendary creature that's a bear druid and is a 2/3. Spells you cast from your graveyard or from exile cost 2 less to cast. Plotting cards from your hand cost 2 less. So I'm not sure why this wasn't a rare, but the abilities here are some of the best that we've seen from any of the cards in Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Being able to cast, your cards from exile for 2 mana less is really powerful because we've got all of our adventure cards from Wilds of Eldraine. Some of them that haven't seen a lot of play because they're in green or in blue. But I think because of this card, they're now very playable in Standard. And I'm pretty confident that we're going to see a Simic deck moving forward because I think we've finally got to that critical mass of quality Simic cards to make this playable in Standard. So those are my top 10 uncommons for the set. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And did I miss something? Do you like something better? Let me know, and I will be back with one more video that's going to look at the best cards from a set, and the last one will be on the big score. So you can take a look right here, my top 10 mythics and rare videos. And remember to like and subscribe to get further content like this throughout Outlaws of Thunder Junction season, but also as we go into Bloomburrow in late summer and on into the sets into the fall and into next year. Thanks for staying to the end of the video. I appreciate it, and I will see you next time.